wait. Just before we go, how awkward was that light out stage? Were you guys like drinking? Like, what was going on? You
So
guys scared?
I made sure to be stone sober that day because I wanted to remember everything. It was my dad and I were sitting there. The Ravens had just sacked Kaepernick to set up a punt for the 49ers, and then is it dark in here? Like what's going on? Oh, look at the theatrics hitting the ring light off.
What's going on, folks, and welcome in to a Monkey Night Fights preview show for Monday Night Football. I'm Conner Rowntree. That's John McKechnie, and John's having himself a good weekend. Georgia, big win, and now you get the Ravens on Monday Night Football taking on the Saints. John, how you doing today?
Could be better. It's been a great football weekend. A lot of fun. Yesterday, the Sunday NFL slate was great. It was weird, but it was good nonetheless. And then, college football really kind of what a weekend for college football between the Georgia-Tennessee game, Alabama losing. I know that basically 90% of the country was pretty stoked about the result of that one down in Death Valley. Notre Dame knocking off a kind of fraudulent Clemson team. I mean, it was just good stuff from basically mid-afternoon onward on Saturday.
Yeah, you love to see it. And then, myself, Bears fans, you had Justin Fields breaking the rushing record, single game as a QB. You had Chase Claypool, former Irish, shooting up for the Bears for the first time. A lot of fun out there, a lot of storylines in the NFL, but zeroing in on tonight, I guess the big takeaway for your Ravens is Mark Andrews. He's not active, he's out. And who's Lamar Jackson going to throw the ball to now? Rashad's hurt. Who do we have there, John?
So luckily, I'm here to clue people in on the likes of Isaiah Likely and Tylan Wallace. And you guys remember Deshaun Jackson? Yeah, he plays for the Ravens now. It's really an interesting cast of characters that the Ravens are rolling out here this evening. But luckily, we kind of got a sneak preview of what this offense looks like, sans Andrews and sans Bateman, for the bulk of that Thursday night game against the Buccaneers. And that led to Devin Duvernay kind of taking over that number one role. Isaiah Likely, the guy who was lighting it up in preseason, had some kind of growing pains, shall we say, through like the opening course of the season, some drops, some key drops, kind of getting his snap count reduced. But when the Ravens needed him that Thursday night, he absolutely delivered. I think Pro Football Focus had him as the number one graded rookie from NFL Week 8. So here's some promising stuff there. The onus is definitely on Lamar Jackson to kind of get the most out of these guys. But at the same time, even if it's a no-name group, I think that there might be, a way that they can show out a little bit this evening.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because if you look at if we look at Lamar Jackson's line on MKF right now, 215 and a half passing yards is what it was. I still think now it's boosted up to 219 and a half, John. So there's obviously faith from the public that he's going to be able to find somebody down the field. And it's just, will it be 219 yards? Because we haven't seen that number a whole lot this season. Obviously, last week he went off for the 200. Well, went off in terms of Lamar Jackson throwing the ball, 238 yards. We saw the 300 yards earlier in the season. I believe it was against Miami, and so. But it's been the run attack. It's been what Lamar's been able to do, creating situations out of nothing with his legs. That has really brought your team, the Ravens, to thrive and put points on the board, at least of late. So that's why I'm just going to take the less. I don't feel comfortable with the Jackson line.
I mean, that definitely makes sense. The game script was so wonky last week where they had Lamar Jackson throw the ball 30 times in the first half, but it wasn't an efficient 30 times whatsoever. And that's why they kind of changed things completely in the second half, got 200 rushing yards in the second half as a team. So we'll see if Greg Roman's plan A changes a little bit this time around. And like you said, with the kind of just overall lack of top end weapons that Lamar's working with, it's going to be a bit of a slog, a bit of a challenge for him. I'm going to go with more. However, I just think that the Saints will be able to kind of keep pushing on the scoreboard just enough. They'll find a way with Alvin Kamara and company. So I think that Lamar Jackson ends up crossing this number.
Yeah, well, if the Saints, you know what the Saints have to do. It doesn't really matter who the Ravens have at running back. You're going to have to stack the box to stop the Ravens. Say that one 10 times fast. Anyway, Andy Dalton, 235 and a half yards. The Red Rifle. I absolutely just love talking about this guy because of all the nicknames. The Red Rocket, the Red Rifle. The guy's hair, he's looked the exact same since 2009. Like whatever his skin product is, good for him. Good for him. He's doing something right. This matchup though, I think this is a run first. I think if Alvin Kamara will probably be, if it is getting involved, he could be getting involved as a receiver. But either way, I think Chris Olave could do some damage. But I Andy Dalton 235 and a half. I don't see it this week.
Yeah, Dalton has famously had some success against the Ravens over the course of his career. Even played against the Ravens last year during the tenure that everyone remembers. I know you do. Andy Dalton's Chicago Bears era. We all loved it. But but this is kind of a similar deal on the other side with the Saints, where they have Olave and really not a whole lot else as far as proven pass catchers. But you do have Kamara. He's running 20 plus routes a game. I think that Dalton can cross this number. And the Ravens aren't blitzing a lot this year. That is a change from the Wink Martindale era. I think Dalton might have a little bit more time to operate. We'll see if the Ravens and their linebackers can cover Kamara, because I think that's a way to kind of like pad the numbers, get some empty calories, which we love in November. And but we'll see Andy Dalton go more here as well.
I love it. I love the prediction. You got an exciting game script coming at us here, John. I'm absolutely this will be fun. All right, let me ask you this then. Lamar Jackson, 60 and a half yards, 6D, 6-0, not 1-6. Could you imagine if that line was 1-6 on the ground? That'd be the most heinous act. That line would get assaulted. Anyway, 60 and a half yards. I think this is more all day, right? Am I crazy?
I don't think you're crazy. I mean, he can, pick up this basically on one run alone. So I think, no J.K. Dobbins, unlikely to have Gus Edwards out there. So that this rushing attack, Kenyon Drake and Justice Hill, they're going to need a little bit more from Lamar Jackson this evening. I'm going with more as well.
Now, on the other side of the football, Alvin Kamara, one of the most dynamic running backs in the game today, and his line at 60 and a half rushing yards. And it's always interesting because I think Kamara is just one of those guys that could always burn you, because he's always teetering around like the 50 and 50 receiving, 50, 100, or he'll explode with one and really just blow up and do something phenomenal. That's what we've seen in the past. And this line's very interesting, John. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you summed it up perfectly with Kamara. Like, he isn't routinely crushing this number. He got it twice mid-season against Seattle and Cincinnati, but since then hasn't gone over that number, period, this season, either after or before that game. I know he's dealing with the rib injury. I know he's healthier now, but I think the Ravens' run defense, especially with the addition of Roquan Smith, slows him down. I think he's going to have to make his money through the air this evening. I'm going less.
Nice, predicting a nice little game here for the Ravens. I like where you're going with this. Anyway, if we flip over to the skill position now on the outside, Chris Olave and Devin Duvernay. Those are, I guess, the two big receivers that we need to talk about, because Olave is the one left standing for the Saints and Duvernay is the one left standing for the Ravens, and they're gonna get their target share. So Chris Olave, especially, I have him going more with Andy Dalton going less. So I'm assuming if you have Dalton going more, you have Olave going more? Question mark.
I do! Exclamation point. I really like Chris Olave. I think that, there's tough cornerback matchups, whether it's Humphrey, whether it's Peters on him, but Olave is just electric. I do believe that he's the best rookie receiver. There's some great ones out there, of course, but I think Olave is the best of the bunch. And like you said, with the target share, it really gets funneled to him with no Michael Thomas. He's going more.
Now we flip over to the running back on the Ravens. You talked about him, Kenyon Drake, obviously the last man standing in the backfield, as you alluded to. Dobbins out, Edwards probably going to be banged up tonight, not playing. 45 and a half yards for Drake. What do you see here?
So I think that, we've seen Drake have some really good games over the course of the season. Against the Giants, he was really, really effective. Going against the Bucks, even on limited carries, I thought he looked pretty good. I think the Ravens figured something out with their ground game in that Thursday night game. Maybe that says a little bit more about the Bucks than anything about the Ravens, but even still, Drake is going to be the first guy in the rotation there. I'm going with Moore.
Yeah, I just it's the efficiency that the Ravens rush the ball with, and the fact that they have Lamar Jackson as that option, and you essentially have to have a spy on him. Like that really could be Roquan Smith's job tonight. And he's one of the best linebackers in football. I got to watch it. I have a signed football from the Bear, or a signed helmet. Oh man, it's just that was tough. That was like the worst breakup of my life.
Oh
Anyway,
no.
Kenyon Drake, I think he can do the more as well. I like that. I love that analysis there, John. And then Devin Duvernay, you kind of touched on it that he was the last man standing, and I feel like this is a line with a full game. I know he had 4. He did the more last week with just 4, so he barely squeaked over. But I feel like this is a spot where this could be hit. This could be a nice spot for people to attack this line on the more.
Right, because there have been other times this year where Bateman was out, but Mark Andrews was in, and therefore, Devin Duvernay's target share was capped. With no Mark Andrews this time around, I know we hyping a little bit of optimism on Likely, but I think Duvernay becomes that number 1 target. No Marshawn Lattimore for the Saints this evening, so that hurts their outside coverage. Duvernay, slippery guy, can work out of the slot or outside. I think that he's going to be way more involved than just the 3.5 catches.
And if we were to look at his yards, they're 45.5. I also like the more there.
I do
receiving
too.
Receiving yards, mind you. I know he mixes in as a runner. Those do not cross over. It is 45.5 receiving yards. Sorry, John, didn't mean to cut you off. Just had to get that point out there.
Not at all. But if we're liking him to get more than 4 catches, or 4 more catches, then I think that it follows pretty nicely for him to go over that 45 number.
Yeah, well, if we were to get into someone, if we were looking into the red zone now, we'd talk a little touchdown dance. Mark Andrews gone. I mean, that when I do a Ravens touchdown dance, it's like Mark Andrews is a cheat code.
Right.
I'm like that awkward guy in the side of the photo. I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, who do I pick? It's going to be awkward, but I think I have to take Devin Duvernay because I can't take Lamar Jackson. I think an outside guy. I think he's got the speed, and you never know if he can break one. You said Lattimore is out. He also mixes in as a runner sometimes, so there could be a little trick play there. So I'll take Duvernay, and then my other guys, Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave.
I like those calls. I'm going to stick with you on Duvernay. I'm also going to sprinkle in one Isaiah Likely. On the Ravens side, I think that he really fills in nicely at the tight end spot for Mark Andrews, and then Alvin Kamara. That guy is a touchdown machine. I know that we've kind of like reached that point where with Taysom Hill, it's been a minute since he's had one of those nuclear games, so that's certainly in play here. I definitely would consider that on a different card, but for the main guy, give me Duvernay, Kamara, and Likely.
Likely scores a touchdown.
Likely 80.
If we look at the lines now, John, over on Bally Bet, the Ravens are the favorites, -1.5. If you want to take them the money line, -120 on the American line, and the over-under at 47. John, how do you see this game playing out on Monday night?
So obviously the Saints are this really erratic, unpredictable team. They come out a couple weeks ago and get boat raced with the help of some Andy Dalton pick sixes against the Cardinals. Then they blank the Raiders in one of the great egg layings of this entire season. This one's at home. The Saints do have one of the few like distinct home field advantages. I think that gets cranked up even a little bit on a Monday night. But I think that's all baked into this line. And I think that the injuries that the Ravens have also moved it down from like 2.5 to this 1.5 number. So really it's basically a coin flip at that stage. And I think that Baltimore goes in and gets it done. They're coming off that mini bye. I know they're banged up. It's easy to look at what they're rolling out there on offense and be skeptical of their abilities here, but I think that the Ravens are starting to turn a corner here. I don't think that they're quite on the Bills or Chiefs level, even though both those guys looked a little bit mortal on Sunday. And I think that the Ravens get this one done, go into the bye, get healthy, and we start to see them really start to turn it on down the stretch here. But yeah, I think the Ravens get the win here and cover the spread.
Yeah, I'm completely with you on that one. I think it could also be a bit of a statement game. And when you look at when we're talking betting lines, right, it really comes down to who do you trust with your money? Do you trust Andy Dalton, who's been on 8 teams over the last 8 years, or do you trust Lamar Jackson, a former MVP? You trust Harbaugh, who's gone into New Orleans and won a Super Bowl before.
I was
So
there.
really, the lights out.
There.
How wait, just before we go, how awkward was that light out stage? Were you guys like drinking? Like what was going on? Were you
So
guys scared?
I made sure to be stone sober that day because I wanted to remember everything. It was my dad and I were sitting there. The Ravens had just sacked Kaepernick to set up a punt for the 49ers. And then is it dark in here? Like what's going on? Oh, look at the theatrics hitting the ring light off. But it was just really strange. Like the first 10, 15 minutes, you don't really know what's going on. And this is way back in 2013. So, you're not getting the greatest reception to really check out, what's going on Twitter, everything like that. So, of course, once the Niners started making their comeback, the tinfoil hat was absolutely on. This is rigged. This is BS. Goodell, I can't believe this. But obviously the result ended up going in the Ravens' favor on that day. And then I was not stone sober after that, but during, wanted to be locked in.
Absolutely love it. John, let the people know where they can find all your great content and stories.
You can find me over on Twitter at Johns_tailgate. You can find my work over on RotoWire.com/cfootball. That's the college football section of the website. Also have my hands in all of our sports betting content. We'll have a bunch of player props in an article form out for you later today as well. So take a look at that after you're done taking me and Connor's picks here. And you can follow me over on Instagram, John.McKechnie, and obviously our reels will be up there via the Monkey Knife Fight channel.
Perfect. Absolutely love it. Yeah, I love sharing that stuff around. You and I always have. There's always one or two funny little banter moments between us, and I'm sure we had a few of those today. Folks, thank you so much for tuning into Monkey Knife Fight's Monday Night Football preview. Man, the tongue twisters are getting me today. I'm Conner Rowntree. That's John McKechnie. Enjoy the football.